Okay, as Avi said, I was until recently the head of economic research department in the Manufacturers Association, and I was representing not only the manufacturers, also the total business sector, when especially in the meetings with the OECD and with governments. And these days I'm establishing a productivity center in Israel. It's new, it's in the first initial stages, so it's not officially opened, but we are working on it. And it is very close to my heart, the subject of productivity. And I would like to refer to your report on the eyes of the business sector, to reflect to you how the business sector see this recommendation. And it's still in my blood. I cannot take it out yet, so I try to be objective, but still I will represent the business sector eyes. One of your conclusion or recommendation, it's inefficient sheltered sectors are dragging down overall productivity. Well, I looked at the data according to the CBS, the Israeli CBS data, and we can see that most of the branches who are dragging down the productivity are the local service activities. Most of them are non-tradable sectors, which means that it doesn't matter if they are sheltered or not, they cannot be tradable. So if I'm looking at restaurants, for example, or human health and social workers, it's local. We should treat them in other ways than to increase import because it won't help. Or if we are talking about arts and entertainments, it's only local. So what is missing for me is to refer to these sectors not in the obvious way to increase competition by increasing imports. The other mark or conclusion you made is that markets are sheltered from foreign competition. And you showed this foreign trade openness. But I find it hard to accept that you put import and export together. There was a question regarding that. Because I look at it in a different I think we should look at it separately, because import, it's not the most, in our eyes, it's not the most important things in the economy. If you ask me what is more important, export or import, if we can't export, we will reduce the import, because most or much, a large part of the import is machinery and equipment in order to export, and it's raw materials in order to locally produce, but to export also. And if we looked at our future as an economy, due to the small and isolated economy, we must export if we want to grow. So in my point of view, we should talk, in the first place, we should talk about export. And then we should talk about import as a measure to increase competition, which is right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I think we're a little bit confused with which factor is more important in order to gain growth and a labor market, a strong labor market. And when I'm looking at exports, and it was, I was missing it in the report, you were referring to the fact that export is weakening. Yes, I saw it in the report. But still, we have a huge problem in the export. You can see the export contribution to the growth in the nice growing, fast-growing years, 2014, 2007, it's explained about 44% of total GDP growth and more than 50% in the business sector GDP, only derived from export. And look what happened since the global crisis. Since 2008, only 21% of growth derived from export. Only 27% of GDP, of the business sector GDP, derived from export. And we are missing, this is the part that we missed due to the weak export. We missed that. That is why huge part of the slowdown in the economic growth derived from the slowdown in export. And why is that? We are losing market share in world trade. You can see that if in the nice growing years, if the world trade increased by 7.5%, the Israeli, this is the only of goods, the Israeli industrial export increased by 12%. When the world fell down, the Israeli industrial export fell a little bit lower. And in the recovery stage, the same picture, very high and positive correlation. But since 2013, the picture has changed. While the world trade increased, the of goods, only goods, not services, the industrial export decreased. And if we looked at by the regression, we would expect the industrial export to increase by almost 6%, which means we are losing our potential growth. And it became year after year, also in 2015, which means that we are losing our competitiveness. And something has happened, and in my eyes, this is the main factor we should refer to. One of the reasons for the decrease in export, we are having an erosion in the competitiveness, but one of the reasons is that the business sector are leaving Israel due to the regulation, due to the high cost, due to many factors. Most of them, or a bigger and bigger size share of them, are increasing production lines abroad, and less entrepreneurs are willing to open new production lines in Israel. The number of new establishments decreased from 56 per year to about 10 in the updated data, which means that if you ask the entrepreneur or the Israeli industrialist, where do you prefer to establish your new plant, they will prefer to do it abroad. So we have a problem here. And that is why most of the exports are done from, if you are opening the second production line abroad, you will export from abroad, not from Israel. And this is part of the problem. So we have problem with the Israeli export. And we should deal with it because it's connected to the productivity and to the competitiveness advantage. Another remark you said, the cost of living in Israel is high. I agree. But we should refer to that, the cost of living for industry or for the business sector as a whole is also expensive here in Israel. I'm talking about water prices, about property taxes, about the wages. Due to the appreciation of the shekel, the strong shekel has made the expense on labor, if we take the high-tech branches, and they should pay for engineers. In the US now it's more, in Israel now it's more expensive by almost 30% compared to the US, when it wasn't the situation 10 years ago. So the cost of living in Israel for the business sector is high. Okay. Another remark to your conclusion is that a greater competition only by accelerating import is not enough. This is my referring to your report. The Israeli business sector needs not only, it's great to increase import. I'm not against it. It's good and it's important and I agree with it. But it's the business sector, in order to flourish and to grow, needs a certainty and there isn't one. Needs a clarity in the regulation, needs a greater competition in-house for small and medium businesses, and we are not doing enough in that area. Actual stimulating measure to improve productivity, we're not doing enough in this area. And again, accelerating import penetration is not enough. It's the same. I wanted to show you what the situation abroad. I'm not saying it right, but this is the playground that the Israeli business sector is playing. The cumulative number of protection measures taken by all of the world since the global crisis, since January 2008, is increasing sharply. And it's not just China or India. Look at the countries. It's the United States, it's German, it's Russian, which means that the Israeli business men, the exporters, the Israeli exporters, are dealing with that trend all over the world. And only to talk about increasing competition in-house and opening the market to import with not looking at what is happening around the world when Israeli exporters cannot penetrate some countries or government orders due to these trends, we are missing something in the eyes of the business sector. Okay, so, just the last one. I was missing some reasons for the high food prices in Israel. I agree with your conclusion, but still we must refer to the high value-added tax, to the strong shekel, which increased the prices, to the cautiousness, to the, you mentioned it, that we should subsidize the farmers and not make tariffs, and the overall business environment. Okay, I'll stop with that.